Good evening, Don Palayo checking in. Today's Monday, July 28th, 2025. It was one of those days at work today. One of my coworkers lost her job today, which kind of always stinks to see that. It just wasn't a right fit. There were some little issues here and there, and but that was kind of a bummer on today. I don't like seeing other people lose their positions and stuff. But some changes I guess had to be made, and we're just going to keep rocking and rolling, doing what we're doing. I'm supposed to have a conversation with my boss this week about possible raise. I guess we'll see how that goes. It's kind of a difficult time to be talking about that because our numbers haven't been that great as a office. Our entire office hasn't really been generating the revenue this year like we have in years past. And I know expenses have gone up, so we'll see. I mean, my costs have gone up too, and I know another girl in the office is having that same conversation this week. So I know our life expenses have gotten a little higher too. So we'll just see what happens. We're all just going to have to be a little flexible. I guess we'll see what happens. But my left shoulder has been a little bit. I think I'm getting a little bit of arthritis in my shoulder. Getting old. I don't like it. I'm kind of watching as things happen in the economy, out in society. We're seeing a lot of a little bit more violence, kind of an uptick in violence lately. There was a horrible story out of Arkansas where two parents and their two young daughters went for a hike in a state park out there in Arkansas, and some piece of crap decided to come and I don't know if he was trying to snatch one of the daughters or what, but the parents tried to fight back, and the guy, I don't know if he shot them or stabbed them or what, but he killed the two parents. The two daughters were left alive, and but he killed both of their parents. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say this because this is how I really feel. I feel like our justice system needs to bring back some of the medieval punishments at times. Somebody like this needs to be strung up and tortured a little bit. That's the way I feel about it. I know our Constitution's against that, and it's a little bit of vengeance on my part, but I would not have any qualms about drawing and quartering this guy. It wouldn't bother me at all. I'm a little bit more. I feel like we're so soft on these people that so they don't mind going out and doing stuff like this. If they had to suffer real punishments, put them in the golden bull and put the fire up underneath it, I'd be fine with that too. It wouldn't bother me one little bit. I wouldn't pity them at all. You took these two young girls' parents away from them. You deserve to suffer. I'm sorry. That's the way I look at it. So people can think of me whatever they want, but that's how I feel. So I am, yeah. I'm not real big on the let's give them a lethal injection. No. I think they need to suffer a little bit personally. I know that's not. I know that's not the way our system is set up, and that might be looked at as being a little barbaric, but I don't care. I feel like I think there needs to be a little bit of that, just to not only for the person that deserves it, but also to discourage other people from doing stupid mess. So anyway, that's just my own personal beliefs in that department. I've been trying with my goals. I'm trying to get going with some of my goals right now, and it's just not happening. I had a goal of $50 a night door dashing, and it's not happening. And it was just, it slowed down a lot out there because people are just cutting back. So I said, okay, tonight I'm going to stay out and I'm going to get 30. We'll try to do 30. I made about $18 tonight, and it was just dead. I sat there waiting for another ping to come through, nothing. I sat there for, I don't know, probably a good half hour waiting for another order, and nothing was coming through. So finally I just said, well, I guess I'll go home and try again tomorrow. So, people have really cut back on the DoorDash app. I don't know if it's the same on the other apps. Maybe I need to try some of the other Uber Eats and some of those. I don't know if they're experiencing the same thing, or if it's just my market. I don't know. It has really died here in Central North Carolina. So, I am hoping to see some improvement in the economy. The stock market's doing okay for now. I wonder how much longer that's going to hold up. I have positioned myself pretty defensively in my IRA. I've got about 40% of my IRA in gold and silver ETFs. And I still have some growth stock in there, but I'm thinking I may get rid of the growth stock positions and maybe go more toward consumer staples, more defensive positions. I'm just not feeling very confident about the economy right now, in terms of the companies are making money. At least it appears that most of them are making some money. But Americans don't have disposable income right now. I think only about the top 10 to 15% of income earners have any disposable income. I would say 80 to 85% of Americans do not have little to no disposable income. That's a problem. That's a major problem. We're going to something has to happen in that department because that's just not working. Corporate America is doing great. I mean, we've got several multi-trillion-dollar companies now. I mean, some of these corporations are bigger than most of the countries' economies around the world. When you look at NVIDIA, Apple, Google, some of these companies are just enormous, and I just don't know how much longer we can allow these corporations to keep getting this big and powerful, and I'm starting to feel like, and I'm a capitalist at heart, but I'm kind of getting to a point where these corporations are getting a little too big, a little too powerful. Maybe some of these companies need to be split up. It's like they used to do that pretty frequently. I remember when AT&T was broken up back in the 80s. So it's not an anti-capitalist thing. That's in fact, it's kind of a pro-capitalist thing because we don't want a monopolistic economy where these humongous corporations. We want more competitive competition in the market. And so I think maybe some of these companies need to be broken up, and to allow for some more free market competition. I don't know. Something really needs to change in that department in our country because right now corporations are in the driver's seat. They have all the power, have all the control, and they're basically the ones. They have all the lobbyists in Washington, D.C. They're filling the people's pockets. And the average person is just struggling to survive at this point. We're not having family creation anymore. People aren't having kids because they don't have the money to have kids. That's a major problem that our government needs to wake the hell up and say, this is probably not a good thing. We need to have some policies that are going to help average people a little bit more. My income, I have a decent income, I'm not absolutely crushing it, but I have a decent income enough that I have a child support payment, but I also am able to afford my own home. I live here by myself, so I'm covering the mortgage. I have a car payment. My car payment's a little lower than many people. Mine's around 500 a month. Other people have $700, $800, $1,000 car payments. I think y'all are crazy, but that's just me. I but I do I do have a healthy child support payment that I make. I'm paying almost $700 a month in child support, and then I'm paying off some other debt, but I'm able to swing it with my income. I am trying to improve my cash flow situation so that I can save a bit more, and I've been thinking about that a lot here lately. How to reduce my expenses. I feel like I've done just about all I can do in terms of increasing my income, other than getting raises every year. I mean, you get to a certain point where you don't want to change jobs again. You just kind of want to just settle in and get comfortable where you are, and work your way up, and make as much as you can. And I'm making a decent income. I don't know. We'll see what happens with my raise this week. It's just I want to be putting a lot more money in savings. So we'll see how that goes. For you guys out here that are concerned about your own personal finances, I think it really depends on where you are in terms of your age. If you're a young person in your 20s, I would highly consider looking into different options to improve your skills. You don't necessarily have to change your industry. You may want to consider going back to get some additional training or education. That doesn't necessarily mean a university degree. You may just want to get some kind of certification. A lot of these IT jobs, you can go and get certifications in certain computers. If you feel pretty comfortable with computers, you can go out and get certifications, Microsoft, different sorts of certifications, and that can earn you a decent income if you have some of that stuff. Of course, I know that there's a lot of change going on there too. So, but with AI and all of that, so I don't know. We're all just going to have to. You may want to consider getting a trade, something that AI won't be able to do. I don't think AI is going to be going out and fooling with plumbing or changing electric systems out or anything like that anytime soon. So we need electricians, we need plumbers, we need welders, we need engineers, mechanics, all of that we need. So those are certainly some good options to think about. I don't know. I'm getting old. I don't like getting old. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Here lately, I've been thinking about it a lot, especially since last week when we had 3 pretty famous people pass away, from first it was Theo from the Cosby Show. He passed away, which I remember, back in the 80s, everybody watched the Cosby Show. We watched that when I was a kid growing up, and so I remember Theo pretty well. Then Ozzy Osbourne did not impact me as much. I was not as big of a Ozzy Osbourne Black Sabbath guy. I was never really into that, so that didn't really impact me that much. But then Hulk Hogan passing away, man, that was tough. As a child, I had I had coloring books in my house where I was coloring the wrestlers, and Hulk Hogan was one that was like the main character, in those coloring books when I had growing up. And I used to watch wrestling, when I was getting into my older childhood years, 9, 10, 11 years old, I was watching wrestling, and to see Hulk Hogan, we've had several wrestlers pass away. Macho Man Randy Savage passed away several years ago. The Ultimate Warrior had passed away. And those, it was something, but Hulk Hogan was the top guy. And that one, when I heard Hulk Hogan had passed away, it was like, dang, man, that one kind of stung me a little bit. I think that one stung me more than just about any celebrity ever has. That was a big part of the 80s, big part of the generation that I grew up in. And that just, I think that just, that stung. The one that'll be worse for me is when I was young, I saw a baseball game on TV, and it was one of the early, like mid 80s All-Star games. I think it was like 85. 1985 All-Star game. I was at my grandparents' house, and I was watching it, and Nolan Ryan was pitching. And I had never really watched baseball ever. This was like the first baseball game I ever watched. And I saw Nolan Ryan pitching, and I was watching baseball, and I kind of got into it, and I became a fan of Nolan Ryan. I was about 9 years old, 10 years old. And I became a fan of Nolan Ryan. And he's now 78 years old. So, he's a little bit older than my dad. So he's getting up there. And when he passes, that's going to be hard, because he was probably the biggest celebrity that I was really a big fan of, I have an autographed baseball of Nolan Ryan. I got tons of baseball cards of Nolan Ryan. That's gonna hurt. That's gonna be a stinger for me when he passes. But anyway, we all have to go at some point, so everybody's gonna wind up in the same place, pretty much. We're all gonna meet death at some point in our lives, and that's just part of it. And we move on to the next step in eternity, right? I am looking at the news, and it's like I mentioned earlier, there's been a lot of violence going on. There's a shooting in New York, in Manhattan. It looks like a cop got shot. A couple of civilians were shot. Seems like they're saying that the suspect was Middle Eastern, so I'm hoping that this isn't the beginning of a bigger thing up there, but we'll just keep our eyes out on that, and hopefully they nail this guy soon. But America's got to wake up to all this immigration stuff. We're allowing a lot of bad stuff into our country. Europe needs to wake up to it too. Europe's even in a worse situation than we are. They've brought a lot of that into Europe, and that's not a good thing. I think that countries just need to go back to allowing like the top of the top people to come in. We don't need to bring everybody. Let's bring in, if we can bring in scientists, doctors, engineers, like the top people, and really do a thorough background check on those people. We don't need to bring in hordes and hordes, just millions and millions of working class people, because they just wind up taking jobs that Americans would be working, that people that would create more demand for labor here. And I don't know. I don't like what they've done with all of that. So that's what my recommendation would be, is that we just need to become very selective, and the people, Europe and the United States, need to become a lot more selective about who they're allowing in from these other countries. So that's where I'm at with it. Trump was over in Europe. He's been over there the last few days working out some trade deals. The left is getting a little bit frustrated with, because he's making a lot of deals right now. If y'all haven't been paying attention, he made a trade deal in Europe we'll see how it works out. He's still maintaining some tariffs, but he has come down with the tariff numbers a little bit. He's using the tariffs for two things. The money that he raises with the tariffs, which though the money that he raises is actually coming out of the pockets of American people. I hope y'all realize that. That is true. The American people wind up paying those tariffs, but you only pay the tariff when you're buying things that are made overseas. So if you buy American-made stuff, you don't pay a tariff. It's only being paid. Now, that's the way it's supposed to work. Some of these companies like Walmart are not playing that game. Walmart is taking the tariff cost and spreading it out among everything in their store, including the American-made stuff, which I'm not real wild about that Walmart. I think Trump's idea making foreign goods more expensive is a smart idea. I think that's the way we need to go. That makes American goods a little bit more competitive, and we can, and you can have more competition from American-made products. And we need to be able to produce things here. We need to have some manufacturing here in the United States. So I don't mind the tariffs for that reason. It was going to come with a little bit of pain from consumers, but for me, it's worth bringing back some jobs here, bringing back some factories and manufacturing here. What I'm really afraid of when I think about all this is that China has such a robust manufacturing sector, and if we ever go to war, and God forbid we have to have a war with China, they're going to be able to outproduce us so bad right now in terms of manufacturing machinery and equipment for war. And that I'm really concerned about that from a national security perspective. So that's why I want us to begin getting some manufacturing back here in the United States, is just so that if something ever does pop off, we have some facilities where we can start making war stuff if we need to, But we did that during World War II, So anyway, we'll see. I'm gonna rest for a little bit. I'm kind of feeling a little bit tired. I am really starting to feel my age a little bit more. I don't know if it was the surgery I had last October or what it is, or if it's just I'm getting old. But I don't know. I'm getting more and more tired. I gotta get some exercise too. I can feel my body kind of needs some exercise. So we're gonna get ready to go for a walk or something, and then I'll call it a night. But you guys have a great night. This is Don Pelayo checking out.